What's up, guys? So today I have a very exciting video for you. We're going to do that lovely April reading wrap up. So that being said, I just wanted to show you guys a couple of things before I get started. And if anyone's ever interested in seeing like how I plan everything and how I keep track of my books, let me know. I use my trusted Erin Condren planner, and I absolutely adore this planner. I just think it's gorgeous. I love the fact that you can change out the covers to be more seasonal. Currently, I have these beautiful trees on here because it is, coming into May, and it's just such a warm, springy time. And I also thought Rainforest Vibes were appropriate because it is rainy and showery in May. That being said, for April, I basically have a spreadsheet at the beginning of every month where it looks like this, and it's basically the goals of the month and, what memories I have. And at the very bottom, as you can see, I have my little bookshelf, and this is how I keep track of what I've read. So I will be the first person to admit I did not finish all the books on my TBR this month, which is unfortunate. I was really hoping that I would, but I did not. But I did still manage to get through 13 books, of which only one was completely Audible based. I did not have a physical copy of that book. So we can start with that one. That one was Bookish and the Beast. It was written by Ashley Poston. So Ashley Poston is also the one, sorry, I'm going to take my indoor slippers off. Ashley Poston is also the one who wrote the books, The Dead Romantics, as well as, I think it's called Dead Romantics. Yes, The Dead Romantics, The 7-Year Slip, which obviously were very, very big on social media over the course of the past few months and has been very, very celebrated in general. Outside of that, she has also done a lot of short novellas and stories, and some of them are partnered with Audible, where she has them on the Audible app. And so one of those books is Bookish and the Beast, which is the third book in a series starting with Geekerella. And basically the universe is following these high schoolers, and it's basically a mixed match of famous people who are in the movie industry and are very well known in terms of their career and what they've been performing in, and the day-to-day lives of these female lead protagonists who are living in the local town where kind of like Comic-Con occurs. It's kind of a small town vibes for sure, but it is very, very cute. I think the first book for me was really good. It was like a true rendition of Cinderella, which is what these are. These are basically like redos of stories from the past. And so Disney movies. So the first one is based on Cinderella. The second one, I think it's Princess and the Pauper. And then the third one is a rendition of Beauty and the Beast. So that's the one that I just finished reading, which was Bookish and the Beast, or listening to rather. And that one was like a solid 3 stars for me. Nothing crazy, nothing amazing about it, but I did really enjoy the book and would definitely recommend for anyone who's just looking for a fun, fast-paced read. Actually, I wouldn't even call it a 4-star. If I'm being honest, it was closer to a 3-star, like a 3.25, but it was overall a very fun, pleasant read. Not a bad book by any shape or mean. The second book that I wanted to talk about is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This was a very anticipated read for me. I really love Lynn Painter's young adult books. All of them have been 5 stars for me. Her adult books usually tend to range between 3 to 4 stars. I will be the first person to say this was a solid 2.85 to 3 stars for me. Not quite a 2-star, but I just didn't feel the chemistry between the two characters. And by the time I started feeling it, the plot just felt like it was getting pulled out for a little bit too long. To be fair, I might have been reading this when I was in a bit of a reading slump. This month was a less reading than usual month for me. There were a couple of days where I just wanted to avoid books altogether. I'm slowly coming out of that reading slump now with the last series that I read. But I will be the first one to say that this was not my favorite book. That being said, I would still recommend Lynn Painter to just about anyone. I do think that normally I like people to read authors from their oldest book to their newest book. In this particular case, I would actually recommend reading this first as a palate cleanser because this is not her best. After this, I would recommend reading the other two adult books, Mr. Wrong Number and The Love Wager. I would do it in that order too. I would do Mr. Wrong Number, then The Love Wager, and then all of the young adults are just phenomenal, which includes The Do-Over, Better Than the Movies, and what is the last one called? Betting on You. She is releasing a new one coming out in November, which I'm already very excited for. I've already pre-ordered it, but it's basically the sequel to Better Than You, and it's like nothing like the movies, and I'm very, very excited for that one too. So fingers crossed, that's going to be just as enjoyable. But overall, just have only good things to say about Lynn Painter. Love her to death, and I'm so, so excited for the new one. Then we get into series galore. So this month for me was all about the series. I did 3 main series this month. So I did do the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, including the novella. So it was Killjoy, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. For anyone who loves that series, and it is obviously a fan favorite across all internet platforms as well as in day-to-day conversation with other readers. But if you are a fan of young adult and you're looking for something fun, fast-paced, easy read, and is just very, very enjoyable character development and storylines, and it definitely will keep you on the edge of the seat, then fully recommend this series. I would recommend reading Killjoy first. I think it really talks to Pip's character, who is our main character in the series. I think you also get a little bit more of an understanding of her relationship with her friends and her friend group as well, and why she began digging into the murder that she starts digging into. The entire series is set in a very small town vibes, and it's very quirky in its own way. It has its own cast of unique characters. It's also very easier. I think it's easier in general to write mysteries based in small towns because you can really speak to all the different components of the characters in the city and the reason why people behave the way that they behave. Also, locations are a lot more limited. So from that standpoint, just like a great setting for the series as well. But it basically follows this high school girl as she decides to do a project to figure out what actually happened to a girl and a boy that died that were 2 years above her. The case originally believed that Sal Singh was the murderer of Andy Bell, and so she decides to look into the disappearance of Andy Bell and the death of Andy Bell because the body was never recovered, and there was only circumstantial evidence suggesting that Sal was the murderer. And so it follows her and Sal's brother Ravi as they try to unravel this mystery and figure out what actually happened on the unfortunate night when Andy Bell goes missing and the subsequent sad events that led to Ravi's death. But overall, very, very enjoyable series. So that was Killjoy and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And then Good Girl, Bad Blood follows another character named Jamie Reynolds. He is the older brother of one of Pip's close friends, Connor. And she's kind of sworn off sleuthing. She's like, I'm not going to get into podcasting and sleuthing anymore because it does have a very intense reflection on her in the town, and it does affect her family in the first book. So she's like, I'm not going to do it. And then she gets roped into this one as well. This one was probably my favorite book in the whole series. This was a solid 5-star read for me. I'm obsessed with this book. I will probably reread this book. There's just a lot of depth to it. And there were certain twists that came up in the book that I did not see coming. And I think it'll be really enjoyable to go back and see if I can pick up on some of the hints that Holly Jackson drops throughout the book that indicate that certain events are going to take place before the end of the book. But this is beautiful, heart-wrenching, wonderful novel. Really enjoyed it. Surrounding this small town and the missing occurrence of Jamie Reynolds when he disappears on the same night that they host the memorial service for Andy Bell and Sal Singh. So loved this one. This was my favorite. So I didn't actually give numbers, sorry. Killjoy, 5-star read for me. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, solid 4.5 stars for me. Good Girl, Bad Blood was a 5-star read for me. And last but not least was As Good as Dead. Now, As Good as Dead, personally, I didn't love this book. This was probably like closer to a 3.5 stars for me because Pip as a character has been affected by significant trauma by the time we get to this book. And so her character, her persona, her behavior patterns, they all change. And for me personally, I really struggled with relating to her character in this book. And I also felt like some of the things that happened were a little far-fetched and stretched out of imagination for me, so I did struggle a little bit with this one. But that being said, it's still very fast paced. It's still very enjoyable. It has a lot more teenage angst than the other two did, three did really. But I would say that this is also very enjoyable and a very interesting way to wrap up the series. And so I would say for anyone who's just looking for fun, fast-paced reads that have to do with murder, mayhem, and mystery in a young adult setting with kids kind of sleuthing and figuring out what's going on that's causing all these disappearances and deaths in their society and in their hometown, then this is a great set to read. And I think Holly Jackson is just a master at what she crafts and what she writes. She also talks about a lot of topics in these books that are actually adult themed, but the fact that she was able to do it through a young adult lens, I think lands a little bit more powerfully, and it's not as triggering. But there are definitely trigger warnings in this, sexual abuse, rape, murder, obviously, drugs and alcohol abuse, what else? Racism. So there are like some triggers in this series, but I would say it's done in a very tasteful way where it's not overwhelming or overpowering, but you can definitely see where Holly Jackson is trying to go with these topics. And I think it's a very powerful commentary in the way that she's done it. But would definitely recommend this series by Holly Jackson. And I will be reading her other books that she has released. I'm really looking forward to reading 5 Survive and the reappearance of Rachel Price, because I have not read those yet. So definitely recommend these series and anything Holly Jackson writes. That being said, we move on to another fan favorite series for me. Now, as you guys may remember, in February of this year, I absolutely fell in love with the Bromance Book Club. It was very cheesy. It's very like predictable in a lot of ways, but I loved the concept, loved the book, and was obsessed with this book. I've already reread it once, but I'm not counting it as a reread just because of the fact that like I did skip through to my favorite parts of the book just to re-jog my memory before I read the rest of the series. But absolutely adore that book, and what I did reread I really enjoyed, and I have to say that it 100% ate for me and 100% would recommend to anybody who's looking for a romance with a slight twist on it. So the whole concept of this series is that you have these very masculine men who are in jobs that are primarily considered very manly, if you will, quote unquote. So baseball players, professional hockey players, professional bar owners, and that type of vibe, hackers. And it just follows these men as they create a book club for themselves where they read romance novels in order to better understand and approach women and be able to talk to them in a way that's respectful and also allows them to understand a woman's needs in order to save their relationships, blossom friendships into relationships, as well as save marriages. And I ate it all up. I absolutely love this series. So there are 4 other books in this series. And by the way, this is written by Lyssa K. Adams. So one of them was Undercover Bromance. Now this follows the first book's main female lead's sister as the protagonist in the novel. And then the secondary character is Mac, who's one of my favorite characters from the first book. I will say that the romance between Mac and Liv were a little bit hard for me to follow because I think it was very, very enemies to lovers. I do think there was some chemistry there. I do think there was good banter there. And I did overall enjoy it, but I was actually more entertained by the expose that was happening because basically they team up together to expose Liv's ex-boss, who has been harassing and taking advantage of women in power taking advantage of women who work for him by utilizing his placement of power. He's also a famous character, so he's very well loved in the community, and a lot of people don't know that he's actually, pardon my language, an asshat. So that being said, they go on a mission to try and expose him in a way that brings justice for his victims, but also puts him behind bars. And so that was more entertaining for me, honestly, than the romance was. But overall, loved the quirky vibes. Loved the fact that Liv is still figuring out her relationship with her sister, which they do talk about a little bit more. And I love the fact that she's found a new place to live with its own quirky character list, where she's living with 2 elderly people, a man and a woman, who absolutely love each other as well, but won't move forward on their relationship. And it's in the middle of this farm with like chickens running around. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I absolutely adored it. Would strongly recommend this. And then next up was Crazy Stupid Bromance. Like, this one was probably my favorite. This follows the character Noah, who is a hacker or a hacktivist, who then ends up doing a lot of work in the private sector for very, very, very well-off rich people in a hacking setting. And he is so good at what he does that he's like made millions at this point. And he's basically courting Alexis, who has become his best friend. He meets her through Mac and Liv in the second book, and he doesn't know how to move the relationship forward. So classic, bring in the Bromance book club group, and they all help him achieve his next goal of figuring out how to talk to Alexis and really say that, hey, I like you. I want to move forward in our relationship, and I would love to date you. And it's very cute how that's set up. I will say the other fun thing about all these books is Lissa kind of knows who her next protagonists are going to be. So she kind of foreshadows that by allowing those side characters be more present in the previous novel. So for example, in the first book, which follows the baseball player Gavin and his wife Thea when they're separated and potentially considering divorce, it really speaks to Liv, who is Thea's younger sister, and Mac, who is the most annoying but adorable Bromance book club character. And it shadows that kind of like moment where Liv and Mac meet for the first time and how he's a little tongue-tied around her. And then lo and behold, the second book was about Liv and Mac. Similarly, in this second book, they do introduce Noah's character and Alexis's character, and they have a very brief second where they introduce Alexis and Noah to each other and kind of foreshadowed for this book. So in this one, the foreshadowing secondary character that's really spoken about is Vlad. And Vlad is basically this Russian hockey player who is a giant and a beast, but a teddy bear at heart. He's my favorite character. And the fourth book follows him and his wife, Sonia. So again, not Sonia, Elena. And so absolutely loved this book. This one's premise is a little bit different in the sense that, yes, Vlad is trying to, build more on his relationship with Elena and finally starts letting the boys into his life. But outside of that, he's also writing his own romance novel. And basically, he and Elena are able to better connect because of the fact that he ends up getting injured. So overall, very, very fun storyline and definitely would recommend. And then last but not least, we have A Very Merry Bromance. And as before in this book, Colton is spoken about a lot, and Colton is the main character of this book. He's a famous singer. He's a country singer. He's kind of going through it in terms of finding inspiration for his music when you cue in Gretchen. Gretchen is a very successful lawyer who really comes from the family money and the family name of the Winthrop clan, and she's done everything in her power to separate herself from that because she finds it very toxic. That being said, she keeps getting pulled back into the family drama by her older abusive brother, and she knows the book club people because she at one point dated Mac in the beginning of the second book, and it didn't quite pan out. She and Colton hooked up at the wedding, and then they never spoke again, and he's never forgotten her. And so now she's in a position where she's told by her jerky older brother, if you want a seat in the family company, you need to go recruit Colton to be the face of our upcoming event. And that's how they reconnect. So overall, loved this one as well. It was very, very cute, very Christmas vibes. It's centered around the Christmas season and very holiday vibes. But while I was trying to save this for Christmas, I just loved this series too much. And I was like, I'm too far gone to not finish it. So that's how that happened, but absolutely love this book and would definitely recommend this one as well. That kind of wrapped up the Lisa K. Adams books. I really, 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 really recommend them for anyone who's looking for fun, happy, just warms your heart, goofy romance vibes. Loved her series. Will literally read any other Bromance book club books that Lisa K. Adams puts out. I hope she does put out more, but would definitely recommend these 5. They were a fan favorite for me and overall 5-star series for sure. Last but not least, we have yet another series. Now this one's a little bit different than the rest of them. We obviously had young adult thriller vibe series, then we also had the romance series. This one is sci-fi. So again, completely different, but also very, very great read. This is the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. This was recommended to me by my brother. He's been trying to get me to read these forever. He says that they're his favorite series and he absolutely adores them. And quite honestly, after reading them, I understand why he likes them so much. While they are not 100% 5-star for me, it's still a great series. The concept basically is that the world started to fail. Earth started to fail. And so they started colonizing humans to other planets. And in order to survive, they created these various, I don't want to say races, colors within the human race that had jobs that they performed in order for the success of the human race. And Darrow, who is our main lead character in the series, was born in the lowest of the low colors, which is red. He then ends up going through some personal shocking events that are extremely painful for him, and then eventually gets rescued by the rebelling Reds, known as the Sons of Ares. They're basically restructuring this corrupt government that has now sprouted because everything Darrow has been raised on has been a lie. And so he gets recruited and basically converted into one of the strongest colors, and his journey with this rebel group and recreating the society is kind of what this story follows along with. I would say this reminds me very much of Star Wars. I mean, come at me if you feel like it, if you don't think that's anything like Star Wars, but that's literally what I felt like. I mean, the originals, 4, 5, and 6, that's basically what this felt like to me. But the only thing is there's no Jedi, there's no like powers or anything like that to be, but it does follow the rise of the weak to the strong. In this series, I especially love the high stakes. I do think the romance was very well done in this series, but it's not the center of the story, which is kind of nice. It's kind of a side plot to the story. It does have a lot of world building. It definitely has a lot of character development. It speaks a lot to the characters' backgrounds, their families, where they come from. So overall, a very well done series. Now, there are 3 main books in the Red Rising series, which is Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. And then after that, 10 years later, there is another series that was written, which is Iron Gold, Dark Age, and Lightbringer. Now, I personally have not read Iron Gold, Dark Age, or Lightbringer yet, but I do plan on eventually reading them. If I'm being 100% honest, part of the reason why I also got these books is because they're the Iron editions that was released by Fairy Loot, and I absolutely think they're gorgeous. So as you can see, foiled covers for the Red Rising books, which is stunning, and a really lovely quote on the back of each book. This one is, "The measure of a man is what he does when he has power," which is such a powerful quote. And again, very Star Wars vibes for me. Then when you open up the book and you take the cover off, you have this beautiful, beautiful foiling on the actual hardback of the book itself. So you can see that this has our main character, Darrow, on the front of the book, and then the back is Mars, and you have that Red Rising, and then on the inside cover you have this beautiful illustrated cover. So that's beautiful. I love those plates. And then when you open up, you have the signed edition by Pierce Brown. So absolutely love these copies. Gorgeous, gorgeous copies. Really enjoyed reading this series. And if you are looking for something that's fantasy, that's high risk, that speaks to saving humanity, and also has a hint of romance and, real character development, I would definitely recommend this series. I think it's very well done. It brought out all kinds of emotions in me. I laughed reading this. I cried reading this. There were definitely scenes where I was like, what in the world are you doing? Like, screamed at the book vibes. But I would say, for me, genuinely a 4.5-star book for sure. Next up, we have Golden Sun, which is the second book in the series. The quote on this one is, "Home isn't where you're from, it's where you find light when all grows dark." And I love this quote as well. Again, just that beautiful foiled cover, like so stunning. And then I love the fact that it has all of the painted edges on all the books, like just gorgeous, gorgeous painted edges on all the books, which is stunning. And then here you have Mustang, who is a female lead character in the series. And then, of course, the Golden Sun on the back. And then the interior page, we have that, and last but not least, that signed page. So I really, really just love these books. I think they're gorgeous, and I'm very, very excited to have them in my collection. But more importantly, I just think they're fantastically written books, and I can understand why Fairy Loot decided to do these books as iron editions, because I can only imagine the number of fans there are for this series. But again, great, great book. And last but not least, we have Morning Star. As far as my rating for Golden Sun, that was a 5-star book for me. I really enjoyed Golden Sun. That was probably my favorite in the series. Morning Star felt a little flat for me. I do think it wrapped up the storyline really well. I do think it was a very powerful cast. I think there's a lot of, trepidation on what steps they should take next whenever they're moving forward with trying to find a way to recreate this successful society that's basically been restructured by the rebellion. But I feel like some of the middle could have been cut out. I think the way that it was done, I would have wanted more than what they gave at the end. Like, I would have liked to see the end drawn out a little bit more in terms of planning and character development there. But overall, I think the series is phenomenal. This was a 4-star for me. The first one was a 4.5, and the second one was a 5-star. So solid, like 4.5-star series for me. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's looking for a good sci-fi, like high stakes fantasy novel. Also, just to finish this off, this is the front cover with Severo on the front, and then we have the beautiful Morning Star rising, the side of the book, and again, those gorgeous painted edges, guys. Just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous painted edges. And then here is a peek at that. And then a peek at that. And of course, the sign. So overall, I would say this was a good reading month for me. I totaled out to 13 books altogether. I feel like I did not finish all the books on my list. I didn't get to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which has been on my list. And I also did not get to How I'll Kill You, which is one of the new books that I had gotten in a haul from Barnes & Nobles, but I do plan on getting to them soon. I don't know, the vibe was just different this month, but I do love the fact that I was able to get through these series. It's always nice when you get to complete a series, I'm sure as many of you readers know, but I really enjoyed my overall reading month. I wouldn't say I had every single book be a 5-star, but I do say the series overall were 5-star reads for me, and I do think that being said, it was very easy to jump back into reading, especially when I was kind of in a reading slump at the beginning of the month. So I'm very, very excited for what's coming next in May. I will be releasing a TBR for May a little bit later, probably on Wednesday, for the upcoming video with my TBR. And then I also have some other exciting videos that I plan on videotaping and posting for you guys. Of course, one of them will be the classic book of the month one, and then there'll be some fun hauls for you guys that are coming in this month. So I'm really excited and can't wait to share everything with you soon. As always, if you enjoy reading and you enjoy books and you enjoy this video and you want to be a part of the reading community here, definitely like, share, and subscribe this video. I would love to have you join me on this journey of just appreciating all the different fiction books out there. I do read nonfiction on this channel every once in a while, but I definitely gravitate more towards fiction. It's my escape, it's my passion, it's what I enjoy. Not every single book is going to be like romance, not every single book is going to be sci-fi, not every single book is going to be thriller. I do like mixing up the genres. In June, I'm actually thinking I'm going to do classics again. So obviously with classics, I don't read through the books as quickly, but I am very excited to jump back into some Charles Dickens, some Jane Austen, So I have like an eclectic collection of books here. So if it is something that you would enjoy, please do join our channel and hang out with me. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and I would love to have you as part of my bookish community. As always, if you have any comments that you want to leave behind, your favorite reads of the month, any books that you think I should be reading on this channel, anything you think I would enjoy, any thoughts on any of the books that I've read that you may have also read, please leave a comment below. I love reading through the comments and answering you guys. So I basically started this channel as a way to do a bookish community where we can all talk about books. So definitely leave those comments below. And that being said, I will leave you guys on this lovely weekend and hope you have a lovely rest of your day wherever you are, whether it's morning, night, or evening. Have a good one. Bye, guys.